Hi, everyone, and welcome to Fan Commentaries on Green with Evil Part 3. Now, unfortunately, this is the weakest out of the Green with Evil saga because, like I had said in the past, the Dragon Ranger arc was mostly standalone episodes, and it culminated in, stopping Borai from being with Bandora. Ranger's footage didn't work with that, so this episode was one episode that really didn't have anything to do with it. Now, even when I was a kid, this scene, while it was cool, Jason's using his smarts to try to avoid Goldar, it was never believable because the smoke was not high enough or thick enough where he could actually hide. It's just, he's literally 2 or 3 feet just below. Scorpina, the reason why this doesn't really make any sense is because they don't set anything up with Scorpina. She's just introduced here. There's no explanation of why she's just like in this rock, but it makes more sense because a lot of material was lost because they do explain some of her bits and pieces, and she's related to Goldar being, his wife. I think the reason why the whole Zordon Lost Command Center problem doesn't work as well as it could have is because like I said in part two, there was a lot of not much going on. They were just trying to, get Zordon back, repair things, but they really didn't explain how the command center worked and what was damaged. That was the problem. We didn't know what was broken. We just know the consoles were broken, but we didn't know how power was affected and this and that. So when Zordon's missing, comes back and missing, we don't really understand what's going on. So it doesn't feel like it feels convenient that he keeps disappearing at key crucial points. I will say this scene here, I think, is the best visually acted from Austin St. John because you could see in his face that he almost like got impaled by the sword. That's what I miss from kid shows when they act. A lot of the time, acting is explained instead of just visually showing it, which is annoying. But in here, it worked really well. Although I hated that if you pay attention to the sword, it's actually not pointy. And it also showed that, Jason had to get his nerve because from part two, Jason was, thrown off guard. He doesn't have his morpher. And so he was just scared of Goldar, which, understandably. And this is the first time he really actually tries to go on the offensive. I think also this scene with Ernie is a reason why I think we also, fell in love with Ernie's character in here versus compared to Ernie 2.0 in Megaforce. while Megaforce's character's fine, he just didn't get to do anything where he became like, lovable, funny, on the side of the characters. While Ernie here, as just this point in here, shows that he cares about Kimberly, sees that she's going to do this weird thing, and at first she's like, oh my God, is she really going to let Skull kiss her? And you could that's the reason why you like him. It's just these little bits is why you like, oh, this character is actually quite fun. If these scenes were with 2.0 Ernie, I think we would have enjoyed him much more. What I also noticed that the way how evil Tommy acts toward the Rangers, if you pay attention in Dino Thunder, Trent does a very similar tactic as well. You can see as he gets worse and worse, he starts falling into Tommy's, arrogant, I'm blatantly evil, but I love that detail between MMPR and Dino Thunder. Now, this is a blatant continuity mistake, which everyone, caught because Goldar had a voiceover while he's dealing with Jason in the Dark Dimension. He would not be doing this. I really wish they had corrected this. It could have been anyone. Finster, Squad, or Babu. What I also found odd, though, is that, Goldar and Rita were worried that, oh, the Rangers were kind of, catching on that he was the evil. And actually, no, she was incorrect. They wanted to know where Jason was, and there was kind of a miscommunication between Tommy saying something and Zach knowing that Jason was there, but they still didn't put it together. So technically, if you had let it play out and Tommy talked to them, they would have probably had gotten away with it without really this thing. But like I said, because this is a introduction to Scorpina, there was not a lot of footage they can use. So they had to buy some extra time, which is why this episode suffers so much. I honestly, it's not a horrible episode, but if you wanted to argue what episodes to cut out of this five-parter in order to make it a more stronger, faster paced introduction to the Green Ranger, you would probably cut episode 3 and or at least take material out of 2 and combine it with three's elements to get Jason out of there, and then introduce Scorpina in episode 4. Now, technically, this is the first time an American PR suit actually fights someone, although it's not a monster fight, it is the Green Ranger versus Jason. The reason why the suits were never used was because of mainly money, because they could not, spend that much time outside and setting up fights. They wanted to save much as money as possible, but they probably don't have a lot of the, Green Ranger, PR costumes in general, multiple copies, because if you fight, you're eventually going to break something, rip something. It just naturally happens. You have to have backups. And they probably did not have any backups. They may have one and maybe a spare so that it fit the actors for stunt people. If you pay attention to the fight when Tommy's fighting, You'll notice his power morpher in this shot is now gone. It must have fallen out and probably broken when they were doing this, because they are actually using the original Japanese toy. If you pay attention, the buckle's way more thicker than usual. And you could also see the buckle actually kind of pop off the belt. This also confirms that the Dark Dimension is known by them. So in future episodes, when they rescue Billy from the Dark Dimension, they know where he is because they can actually track Jason's communicator. I thought it was a bit weird when he teleported on the floor. You think there would have been the beam that goes up. Same thing here. He reappeared on the floor, which is fine, but you think the beam would come down because that's usually how the teleporter works. It doesn't simply just dematerialize you and rematerialize you back there. There's still a beam that goes up and down. The reason why Burai was not in the show as much is because even now, he has technically a time limit because when he was released in a dead state, meaning when he was originally frozen, he was not frozen in the mirrors like the other Jew Rangers. He was frozen in some kind of like mummification, which unfortunately was damaged because the cave rocks fell on him and he was slowly dying, and that was the reason why he went to this timeless dimension where he mostly stayed, even in this state. So that's the reason why he was not in the show, as well as because this is the first time Jew Ranger used the Sixth Ranger, so they didn't want to use him as much, and they wanted to focus on Geki's background. That's actually Jew 1.5 footage. There was not a lot of footage they can use. Again, they ran into the same problem that Part 2 did because mostly the Jew Rangers were fighting Scorpina and or other issues that were not really Ranger related. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever because they're using it because they had to. Because Squat and Babu never actually go and see it. It was just very odd because what happened in this episode was that Goldar's character was worried about Lamy, and they wanted her to come back because they needed her for something else, and then she got annoyed at them. That's the reason why she does, come in mad, which, it's loosely the same in PR as well. They were not really talking about the Green Ranger in this scene. It was mainly about Grifoser and Lamy arguing between each other. Who should go? Who should fight? Should they fight together? Should they not fight together? He should go alone. Should they have a better plan? This reveal was not actually in the Jew Ranger episode here. We know about it later. In a sense, Tommy being in the Dark Dimension is virtually what Burai did in the original episode. Now, this footage is technically repeated in the next part, and that foot shot was actually stolen from when the Rangers were on in the beach area, and then they were going to be impaled by him. So they have to string along the footage because Lamy was introduced in this scene as well. Now, this stuff was actually cut out and censored when Disney originally broadcast this episode, including in the reversion episode. All this, about 30 seconds of material was just cut. There was a commercial interruption here, and it starts at this moment.